going for 47 points last night. Is Ja the best young star these playoffs have to offer? Because it certainly looks that way. Jordan Love. Jordan's a lonely man at Packers OTAs. But wait till you hear who's comparing Jordan Love to one Patrick Mahomes. And another celebrity golf match is set. This one's gonna be so good. Did Tom Brady go too far this time with his trash talk? And with that, we say good Thursday morning, everyone. This is First Things First. Got a great show for you today. Jenna Wolfe, Nick, Wright, Brandon Marshall, Kevin Wilds. Brandon, you played against Tom. Does he trash talk on the field the way we're hearing him do it off the field?
No. So I love it because we've never heard Tom talk like this other than Richard Sherman, that Richard Sherman moment, but he just goes out there and throws the football.
Because he don't got a ghostwriter on the field with him. He don't have somebody on his payroll doing it for him.
Right,
we'll get to talking Tom in a second. We have to start this morning about 20 blocks from where I am sitting right now, Madison Square Garden, where for the first time in 8 long years, the New York Knicks won a playoff game, took down Trae Young and the Hawks to even up that series at a game apiece. How about 26 points from Derrick Rose? How about 15,000 fans going bananas? 15 blocks. It's like a 10-minute walk. It's been a long time for this city.
Why didn't you go?
If you know, you know. So, Nick, you know what? We can discuss this in a commercial break. Nick, what was your biggest takeaway from last night's Knicks win? But let's talk about my logistics last night. I was going to go, and then I was like, no. Tell me about what your takeaway was from this game last night.
Well, the biggest takeaway is, had you gone, Jenna, you would have been stuck in a massive humanity outside the Garden afterwards. But I have a feeling our true New York Knicks fan on the show, Kevin Wilds, is going to get into that, so I'm going to leave that for him. My basketball takeaway was Derrick Rose. This is the most minutes and the most points Derrick Rose has scored in a playoff game since Bulls-Cavs in 2015. He started the second half for the Knicks. It's what flipped the game. They were down 13 at halftime, and their offense looked impossibly bad because the Hawks have a wonderful plan for Julius Randle, who's had a really rough go his first 2 career playoff games, and Derrick Rose got them back in the game and got them back in the series. And it is such a great story, Wilds, because I remember in 2018, after the Cavs moved on from him, and there was a video of him working out in some random gym in Cleveland, where the narrative was Derrick Rose is only not retiring because if he retires, Adidas doesn't have to pay him out the $100-some million they owed him. That was almost conventional wisdom, was that Derrick Rose knows he's done, but he needs to be cut rather than retire so Adidas still has to pay him. And instead, he kept working. He reinvented himself. He had an amazing Instagram caption the other day where he talks about how early in his basketball life, he lost his queen on the chessboard, so he moved a pawn all the way down the board to get a new queen, how he's reinvented himself. And to me, Wilds, he was the difference and is the singular or the biggest reason why Knicks fans were able to have that celebration last night and why they are back in this series.
Oh, indeed they are. And the relationship between Tibbs and Derrick Rose, too, is just a beautiful thing. That sort of like is the foundation of everything. To watch them work together is beautiful. But, Nick, you've watched a lot of playoff games over the year. Hundreds, maybe thousands, if you go back to your childhood. This is the first time in my long memory where the story is actually the atmosphere. Coming off of the bubble, a year where there was no fans, and some people are out there saying, you know what? I don't miss the fans. I just like the basketball. And those people were dead wrong. Brandon, the story was how electric the Garden was and how, and get ready for this, 100%. Now Nick is going to put his hand through his hair. This is why New York will be able to start attracting free agents. Now that the team is okay, just like how the Nets got okay and the free agents started to go, the Knicks are okay. And next thing you know, all the free agents will start to come to the Mecca. And we know that this show is built on take integrity and whatever LeBron James says. And what did LeBron James say last night? Oh, the Garden is electric. It's it's loud.
Yes.
Well, what the heck? That's supposed to be don't read it like that. It's loud as heck in MSG. That joint is rocking. So now let's go outside of MSG after their first win. Garden faithful going nuts. Brandon, it's my hypothesis that free agents are going to look at this scene and look at how much fun the Garden is and look at how great New York is and say, you know what? I'm putting the Knicks back on my free agent list because let's be honest, the Knicks don't have enough to win it all, but this, and everybody knows it, it's fine, but this is a sign of things to come, Brandon.
You're 100% correct, Wilds. Watching this game, that was the biggest takeaway for me. But on the basketball side, Julius Randle, he was the story. Julius Randle, where were you the first half? You're talking about the most improved player. We need to see that show up moving forward. Now, in the second half, he hit some big shots, 2 big threes to get the team right back where they needed to be. But, man, how do you go from averaging 37 points a game against this team to now you're non-existent? Yep. And then also, it's hard for me to talk about basketball because I don't see either of these teams getting out of the second round. So Wilds is 100% correct. MSG was rocking. And the first thing I could think about was James Dolan. Like, you have to get out the way because we want to see this in the regular season. We want to see this game after game after game. That's what you're going to get in this environment if you bring a contender, if you bring a superstar, the Zions of the world. He loves it. Don't mess this up. You best believe he's watching that game saying, that's where I want to be. That's the environment I want to play in. So that is the biggest takeaway for me, Kevin, was exactly what you brought up. They have to figure this out, man, because MSG should not be a place where LeBron James and Trae Young and other superstars come drop 50, and that is the headline. MSG needs a superstar as its own, for that to be their home, and for them to be dropping 30, 40, 50 points, and that be the storyline.
Oh, don't worry. It's all coming. And can I put everybody on the screen? Because there is one free agent on the show who's going to move to New York and looked around, started picking teams by one Brandon Marshall. And he picked the Nets.
No,
Nets won 2 playoff games. I haven't seen any videos. It's nice. They play Biggie in the arena. That's nice. That's great.
No.
But if you want to change, there's plenty of room for you to jump on the Madison Square Garden, New York Knickerbockers bandwagon, and you can leave the front-running Nets, on the sidelines. I'm just putting it out there.
Brandon doesn't.
Why would I do that?
Go ahead, Brandon.
Go ahead, Nick.
Brandon's picked the Nets. That's fine. He's picked the Nets, which is good because the Nets need fans. Because the celebration last night outside the Garden had more energy than a Nets championship parade would. There is more buzz around New York City about the Knicks winning a single playoff game than there will be if the Nets win 16 of them. And by the way, Wilds, when you said a pending free agent, you're saying Zion, people are looking far down the road. Knicks fans, I'm telling you right now, you know who your second favorite team should be? The Dallas Mavericks. They sweep out the Clippers. Just wait and see if Kawhi opens up the options. And if he does,
stop this man.
Now, I don't think Kawhi wants to go west to east.
That is
if
something.
he does, the Knicks, to me, are a team that can afford him, that makes sense. They're all of a sudden relevant. And so, you're looking long time down the road. I don't think guys think like that anymore. I think it's where can I be for the next 2 years? Where can I be for the next 3 years? Kawhi went to LeBron City to try to take it from him, failed miserably. So maybe then he'll go to KD's city, try to take it from him. Like, all right, I couldn't get it from the King. Maybe I can get it from Durant. So it's a possibility. I'm just saying. The Knicks fans
don't
should be
get excited. Don't get happy. Jenna, Kawhi is not that guy. Kawhi, he MVP. He's won it twice. He's not going to go chase anything else. He just bought a $20 million home out there in on a beach somewhere in Los Angeles.
He can probably afford another one. He could sell it. It's fine. He could sell it. Let Lucas sweep him out.
Real estate's fine.
All right.
Start looking elsewhere.
Knicks, big win last night. The series now shifts to Atlanta, Game 3 Friday night. We got to discuss the trash talking from Tom Brady. Did he go too far this time? Taking shots at Aaron Rodgers ahead of their celebrity golf match. It's so good. Stick around. We'll talk about it next. First things first. Here we go. Playing drawing to blank.
What a doofus.
Could you possibly put together a better celebrity foursome in golf than this one announced yesterday? Here it comes. Tom Brady and Phil Mickelson against Aaron Rodgers and Bryson DeChambeau. Almost as good, that foursome, as Brady's troll about the foursome. Two old guys against the young bucks, he tweeted. Bryson better get used to laying up because we know Rodgers isn't going for it. Then Brady was like, wait, I can do better. He posted this. Two champions versus a scientist and a Jeopardy host. But wait, Brady wasn't done. Packers kicking a field goal down 7. Trash-talking Tom is all fired up. Still wasn't done. He was on fire. Bryson joked about Brady feeling as deflated as the footballs in the AFC Championship after they get beat.
Whoa.
So much going on here, Brandon. But let me ask you, Tom Brady's trolling of Aaron Rodgers ahead of the match, all that trolling is blank.
A lot of great material there, Nick. I think you said he has a ghostwriter for him for social media. Maybe so, because every time he does this, it's genius, it's excellent, it's entertaining. But the last one was the best. Bryson won this. This is poking the bear. Now, Tom Brady came out thinking that he was going to be cute, he was going to be slick, he was going to be entertaining, but then Bryson just, boom, blammo, hit him at the end. Thank you, Wiles, for giving me that. Blammo. Talking about deflation. Man, it's one of those things where you get into an argument or you start playing around with one of your boys, you're bantering back and forth, and then all of a sudden, they just hit you in the gut. Deflategate? I know Tom is like, man, dang, maybe I went a little too far. So this is poking the bear, and he was blindsided with Bryson's Twitter rant. Bam, at the end.
Yeah, I'm sure he was very surprised when he woke up from one of the 3 naps he takes a day and sees he's in a Twitter and Instagram war when he doesn't even have his own password. This is stolen valor. Everyone's like, oh, Tom Brady's so funny. Oh, look at Tom Brady memeing the world. Oh, Tom Brady's up on the Brooks Koepka Bryson DeChambeau feud. No, he's not. He's not. He has stolen the valor of the person who's actually funny and witty and good at the internet, who is posting all of this for him. Right now, I am opening my DMs on Twitter. If anyone wants to reach out, I will keep you anonymous and come forward. You are the Tom Brady social media person, and you deserve credit. He is Wilds. I am not here for everyone's like, oh, in addition to being handsome and a 7-time champion, he's so good at the internet. No, he's not. He's paying someone who's good at the internet, and he deserves none of this credit. 0% of the credit. You know how I know Wilds, an actual GOAT, LeBron runs his own Twitter? Because he has a ton of typos. In the tweet we showed earlier, he put asterisks for the word as, like it was a curse word. Like, that's LeBron doing it. Brady memeing is not Brady doing it, Wilds. It's stolen valor.
Quite possibly the worst take this show has ever had. Quite possibly. It might be up there. My DMs are open if you've heard Nick with a worst take. That because LeBron makes mistakes on social media, Tom Brady should fire his excellent social media manager. It's a take. We've gone there.
He shouldn't fire him.
Hey,
he should give him credit.
You know when they... Well, it's the person's job. It's a job, just like anything. And in any event. In Las Vegas bets, Nick, they're always like, hey, we're going to buy you out. Like, it's 2 guys left at the poker table, and like, I'll buy you out, and we'll kind of split the pot. The organizers of the match should buy Phil out. Like, Phil, you should step aside. We know that we all want to see Brooks versus Bryson. That has risen to, a fever pitch, a boil. So So Phil shouldn't. It's a lucrative deal for Phil. But say, Phil, you know what? You don't have to play this. We'll buy you out. Here's a free, maybe $1 million. But we need Bryson in here. So sorry, Phil. Be a ratings bonanza.
That's right. I agree 1,000%.
All right. Can we get back to last night's action? Utah, where Ja Morant had himself a night. Ja posting a Grizzlies playoff record 47 points. Somehow, though, not enough as the Jazz won in Donovan Mitchell's return to even that series up at a game apiece. But Brandon, Ja's performance in Game 2 was blank.
Attention grabbing. Nick, I mean, if you do a medal count, I'm sure Ja will probably end up in your top 5. You've been talking about this guy all year. You've been highlighting him. You've been giving him his flowers. But I don't think that's true across the board on different networks, other shows. Like this dude in a play-in game, a do-or-die game, he beat the Warriors, dropped 35. Steph Curry, hot the last 2 months, couldn't miss a shot. And then he follows that up with a Game 1 win over the Jazz, the #1 seeded Jazz. Last night, 47 points. Now, it was a loss, but it's attention grabbing because we keep talking about Luka. We keep talking about Zion. I know you have given him his flowers, but I don't know if people really respect him and understand how great he is. So it's attention grabbing for me, Nick.
And for me, Brandon, it's even better than you think. I'm going to give you some names here. How about Steph, Giannis, Jokic, Kawhi, Kyrie, Harden, Luka? What do all those guys have in common? In addition to, they're all going to be all-NBA guys this year. None of them have scored this many points in a playoff game. None of those guys. That's 8 of the 12 best players in the league I just mentioned. John now has more points in a playoff game than any of those guys, and this was only his second career playoff game. It's also the most points ever by a 21-year-old in the playoffs, breaking LeBron's record. So it's actually Wild's better than you think.
So I'm going to say it's a star step. Here's the theory. In order to become a superstar, you need to show out in a playoff game that you eventually lose. Whether it's Jordan and Larry Bird, LeBron when he got swept by Tim Duncan. We saw Jamal Murray lose, play awesome. We saw Donovan Mitchell lose and play awesome. We saw Paul George become a star when he dunked on LeBron and ended up losing. So this is a weird step where you actually like play awesome but lose, and it's sort of a precursor to becoming a superstar, Jenna.
That's interesting. All right. All right, let's press pause. Time for Wild's Weird and Wonderful from the National Pastime. How about Jose Altuve taking Trevor Bauer oh so deep in the first inning yesterday? Stros go on to win 5-2. Pretty wonderful. What is even more wonderful than that, Kevin Wild?
Jenna, we are going with a non-Major League Baseball Weird and Wonderful. First up, Dallas Baptist University first baseman Cole Moore. Look at this catch. Jumps over the fence, doesn't catch it. Guess what? Doesn't matter. Still awesome. Do you know how awesome an effort needs to be when you make a highlight for not catching a foul ball? Well done, Cole Moore. And finally, moving on to the wonderful. Well, the fence is perfect in jumping over height, just like the softball play we had the other day. Oh, and now look at this. The Ole Miss baseball team just reinvented high fives.
Okay,
From
that's
now
the best
on,
thing I've ever seen.
All high fives should be inspired by the dunk contest. This has been sitting here all of our lives, and no one's ever took advantage of it besides Ole Miss. So Ole Miss, great job. Next time our show doesn't socially distance, Nick Wright, get ready for my D Brown high five. Don't know if I'll land it, but I'm going to give it a shot with you.
Legit best thing I've ever seen.
That's great.
This is my new way to say hello. That's so cool. All right, something
Jenna,
not so cool. This moment from last night in Philadelphia. You know what, Nick? This 35-year-old will never tear a hamstring. Russ spoke out after he got a bucket of popcorn dumped on him. We'll have his comments next. First things first. I'm lying. I'm 36. Back here on a Thursday morning, talking about the NBA playoffs. You guys see what happened in Game 2 last night. Russell Westbrook walking down the tunnel after the game at Wells Fargo Center when a fan poured a bucket of popcorn on him. Russ, already upset after injuring his right ankle. Well, this set him off. Here he was after the loss about that moment.
And to be blatantly honest, man, it's just getting out of hand, especially for me. Just the amount of disrespect, the amount of just fans just doing whatever they want to do. It's out of pocket, man. It's out of pocket, seriously. Like, any other setting, I'm all for the fans enjoying the game and having fun, and it's part of sports. I get it, but there's certain things that cross the line. And any other setting, I know for a fact that fans and they wouldn't come up, and a guy wouldn't come on the street and pour popcorn on my head because he know what happened. A guy wouldn't come up to me and talk mess about my kids and my family on the street because the response will be different. In these arenas, you got to start protecting the players, man. We'll see what the NBA does, but there's a huge consequence for us as players, and especially for me. I've been in a lot of incidents where fans they say whatever, and the consequences for me are a lot more detrimental than to those people in the stands because they feel like they're untouchable. They can say what they want. They're at a sporting event where they should enjoy the game. But a lot of times fans don't realize this is our job. This is my job. This is not some play. This is something I love to do. This is something I love competing at. So to get food thrown on top of me, it's just. And if unfortunately, I couldn't get to the stands, but I just don't take that lightly, man.
So LeBron was watching, chimed in with this. By the way, we as the players want to see who threw that popcorn on Russ while he was leaving the game tonight with an injury. There's cameras all over the arena, so there's no excuse, because if the shoe was on the other foot. A Wells Fargo Center issued a stern warning to fans for any conduct like this moving forward. Brandon, I'll start with you. What do you make of everything that happened here after the game last night?
Yeah, I'm with LeBron on this. Enough's enough. Like, this is ridiculous. And this is what, the second, third time this happened to Russell Westbrook. This is unbelievable. We need the NFL, the NBA, the WNBA, the NHL to do something. And we don't want a statement. This is ridiculous. If this happened on the street, like Russ said, it would be a different outcome. And you keep putting these players in a box, telling these players, oh, sit over here. You get paid a lot of money. These fans are paying a hefty amount for a ticket to come watch you play basketball, to watch you kick a ball, to shoot a ball, whatever. And you need to sit here and take it. No, protect your players. It's not only just throwing things on people, which is assault. You go back to college football, you got guys throwing beer bottles at players. Enough's enough. Treat them like you would treat them in the street. If you're walking down the street, okay, and you hear two people yelling and screaming at each other, someone's going to stop. You know how many times I've been sitting on the sideline hearing a fan sitting right there on the 40 or the 50 just screaming and cursing, talking about players, mothers, wives, children. It's unbelievable. I had a fan sit behind, our bench one time playing in Baltimore, and I love Baltimore. You guys are actually good people. There's this one guy in particular. He's sitting behind the bench. He had a list of players' families' names. And he just went one by one, just dog cursing them. And the security guard just sat there. The police officers on duty just sat there. They didn't do anything. The team officials didn't do anything. It's time for the leagues to stand up and do something about this, because we're going to have another incident. What we're going to have, what was it called? The melee? What was it called,
Malice
Nick?
At the
when
Palace.
you had
Malice
World
at
Peace?
the Palace. Yeah, Malice at the Palace.
Like,
so
ridiculous.
here's the thing about that, Brandon. All right. My job's to be honest. I'm just going to be honest. Fans have lost any fear of a Malice at the Palace, and so they've gotten out of hand. The reason this happens is because fans have convinced themselves they are in an impenetrable bubble, and I can pour popcorn on Russell Westbrook's head, and he is literally going to be held back by 5 people. Now, it would have been bad for Russ, and it would have been bad in theory for the NBA had Russ gone up there and punched that guy in the face. But it actually would have kind of solved the problem. Because the only reason people do this, they think they are tapping the glass at the zoo. And these are caged animals who can't hurt you. First of all, it is obviously disrespectful. It's hugely problematic to treat athletes like they're animals. But One of the reasons people tap the glass is because it's so thick, you know, the lion can't break through. If once a year it's like, oh man, lion broke through that glass again, people wouldn't tap it anymore. And so here's the thing, Brandon. You are allowed to do so much at a sporting event that you can't do on the street. You are literally allowed to chant, bleep Trae Young. Or as they did last night, Trae Young is balding. You are allowed so much of a wide berth to act a fool as a fan because it is part of sports. There's really two things you can't do. Touch the players or throw something at the players, or say something about a player's family member or something that is, you know, racist or of that ilk. Everything else is allowed. And so, of course, the guy should be banned. Of course, the guy, if he has season tickets, should have them revoked. All of that's true. But what's also true is what Russ said, which is this happens because the fans, and I know it seems like a weird take, are a little too protected. Wilds, I sent you a video the other day from just 25 years ago of Vernon Maxwell. I think something was either said to him or thrown at him. He walked up in the stands, hit the guy, walked back down to the huddle, and the game moved on. It's a different time, it was a different era. But back just, 20-some years ago, there was a real fear that if I go out of line, I am going to be met with the same response I would be met with if I go out of line on the street. And that's been removed. I understand why that's been removed. But if the NBA stance is going to be, under no circumstances whatsoever can you ever go into the stands, then the NBA needs to do a better job of ensuring there are fewer instances where a player would have a reason to go into the stands.
Yeah, so I think that the NBA is going to take this incident very, very seriously. I think that Adam Silver knows the sort of the malice in the palace, let's say, is not in too far in the rear window of the league like it is in fans' memories. It hasn't taken on any sort of like comical quality. It's not funny. There's nothing about it. It is considered a stain on the league. Adam Silver also is known for, in his tenure as commissioner, Brandon, he has done an excellent job working with players. And when players talk, Adam Silver listens. So when Russ has spoken out multiple times about this, he spoke out after an incident in Utah. He spoke out after another incident in Philadelphia where a fan gave him the middle finger. And LeBron has now spoken out. And we can also see LeBron's power. And I do not think that the response to this is going to be, bad actor whack-a-mole. Take his tickets. I think the league is going to launch a study on antisocial behavior, maybe in association with the Players Association, and they're going to come up with some changes here because this has happened to Russ multiple times. So you can't just say, you know what? Oh, we got rid of this guy. Let's move on to the next game. Because there has to be behavioral changes in the league and not just continue to point the finger at one bad actor. There's going to be severe changes in the league so that to make sure that this stuff is totally deadened.
Right. Yeah, man, and my blood is over here boiling watching that and then having this conversation. Absolutely, we need to have this conversation, and we need to see policies change. I want to see what the policy is right now. What is the policy? You see fans fighting, and they continue to watch the game after the fight. Like, it's ridiculous what we allow in our stands. We not only have to look at that type of behavior, but we also, during this time, need to look at how we approach players, period. All right, like we force our players after moments like this to sit and have their press conferences when so much is going on, emotions are and tension is flaring and emotions are out of control. So we need to look at that visual that Nick rolled out as far as animals in a cage, animals at a zoo, and that thick glass and being able to knock on it because nothing's going to happen. We need to look at all of this and break it down, and we need to put policies in place and rethink the way we approach the player because the players are not animals.
Well, 100%. And I hope people understood the analogy I was using there, because I think it's abhorrent that in many cases players are treated as such. I also think that some of this is actually gray. And by that I mean, I do think part of, like Derrick Rose said in his press conference day before yesterday, part of sports is a loud, rowdy, obnoxious, at times profane crowd. So like when Russ got upset about the middle fingers in Philadelphia, that to me, that's over the line, but that is more part and parcel with being a pro athlete. There is going to be some level of disrespect from the opposing team's crowd because they're jealous and they really wanted to be a pro athlete themselves. But there are certain things that are so cut and dry, this obviously being one of them, that to Wild's point, that you should be able to weed it out. And I don't think it's just on the league level. I think it's on the individual teams. You can recognize when things are bubbling. You can recognize also, if you wanted to go deeper into how much alcohol and over-serving alcohol at these events has to do with that. I don't think a lot of sober people necessarily engage in some of the most extreme behavior. And you can say, guys, part of what makes the NBA great is you can be right on the court. You can be closer to an NBA player in a game than anything else. And so the standards for folks who are going to sit within touching distance or throwing distance of the court, Brandon, is going to be high, is going to be very high, and it's going to be regulated.
And another thing here, and I'll be quick here, a lot of times, these are the regulars. A lot of times, everybody at the arena or the stadiums know these people,
knows who they are,
and they actually entertain it. They cheer them on, right? They get special treatment. They get, oh, this is your space. We make sure we bring this to you.
Yep.
A lot of times, they cheer them on. They entertain it. So I'm so glad we're having this conversation. But it's unfortunate it had to happen to Russ again, especially when he just hurt his ankle in a game 2 when he's fighting his butt off to get his team back right where they need to be. Yeah, ridiculous.
Interesting to see how the league responds to this down the line. All right, we'll set that aside. We got to talk about some Suns and Lakers. All eyes now on that guy right there, Chris Paul, and his availability for tonight's Game 3. If he does play, will the Suns take back control of this series? We'll have that for you next. This is First Things First.
Take it wherever. With whomever. This is the no-holds-barred multi-purpose vehicle with the capacity to take life on. And the audacity to say, what else you got? Introducing the all-new Kia Carnival MPV.
First things first on a Thursday morning. Back here with NBA champ Antoine Walker. Twan, Suns and Lakers, Lakers and Suns. Game 3 set for tonight at Staples Center. Phoenix officially listing Chris Paul on the injury report with that shoulder. He's listed as probable. But remember, we saw in Game 2 what a hobbled CP3 might mean for the series. So Antoine Walker, how much will CP3's health determine this series?
Well, it's a couple things about this subject. The first thing is the Phoenix Suns did a terrible job. First of all, you win Game 1. You don't have to play Chris Paul in Game 2. This is you're looking for a long series. You know it's going to probably take you 6 or 7 games to win it. You rest him Game 2. Give him an opportunity to get that shoulder as 100% as possible. So that's the first mistake they made. The second thing is I feel so bad for Chris Paul. Once again, unfortunately, this guy's worked so hard to put himself in position to have an opportunity to try to make a deep run in the playoffs, and he's not going to be healthy enough to be able to do that. The third thing is that Suns didn't have a chance to win this series. The size of the Lakers was going to oppose their will. Game 1 was a stepping stone for them. It was a wake-up call for AD to be more aggressive, to dominate, to use his size, not only on the offensive end, on the defensive end. Then Drummond woke up as well and had a big game. But this is a bad matchup for the Suns. We said that any team that was going to play the Lakers at the 7th, 8th seed, we're going to have a tough time trying to beat them in the playoffs. The Lakers are only going to get better and better as the playoffs are going along. The first game was a fill-out game. LeBron James typically does this for whatever reason. I heard Nick talk about this a lot when he plays kind of possum the first game. He takes 13 shots. He's not really aggressive. And then he just, to kind of fill out what the series is going to be. LeBron James and the Lakers knew they didn't want to go down 0-2. One thing we got to realize in this playoffs as we continue to talk about it, we have fans now. We have home court advantage. These things are in play now. So the role players are going to play better. It's going to be better playoff games. But the dominant teams are usually going to, in fact, the Lakers are a team that can go on the road and win. So if CP3 was 100%, they was not going to win this series. Now that he's not going to be healthy and the series is going to continue on.
Stop it.
This series is over. Chris Paul had a terrific year. I'm not taking anything away from him, but they would not beat the Lakers. They may not win another game. This thing could possibly be over.
Woof. Twan, there's only a handful of good ones on TV, man. And I respect you so much. And you're one of my favorite players to watch because you can do it inside and outside. And that was my game when I was growing up playing basketball. But for you to come up here and talk about the Suns never had a chance is ridiculous, and I got to push back on you on that. Are you kidding me? This was all about CP3. Look what he did when he was in L.A. Look what he did last year with Oklahoma, the Thunder. Look what he did this year with the Suns. So you have CP3. Obviously, he went down early in game one. They still pull it off. But then you don't have him in the second game because he's literally running around with one arm. And they lose the game, and they're still in it. I mean, it took the Lakers up until the last minute of the game to really pull away. You had LeBron hit a big shot. You had AD hit a big shot. Just imagine what would have happened if CP3 was there. He is their general. So like, for you to say that, man, it's almost like it's disrespectful. It's disrespectful, man.
No, I'm not disrespecting them, but sometimes it's a bad matchup. The defending champs is a bad matchup for them, regardless of how good a Chris Paul was playing. We know what Chris Paul is capable of doing. Now, he can make it a tougher series. He probably can go 6 or 7 games with Chris Paul being healthy. It's unfortunate, B, you know this. You know when you get into the playoffs and you as a player, you want to be 100%. You don't want to be 50%, 60%, not being able to get a team what you're capable of doing. That's why it's tough. It's unfortunate. It happens in the game. Some guys we've watched all season long. We watched LeBron miss a significant amount of time, AD. So it's unfortunate Chris Paul injury comes here. He just got a streak of bad luck with injuries. I feel so bad for him because this guy's worked so hard. He was in Knicks MVP conversation. And you got to realize that unfortunately, injuries are a part of the game, and they happen from time to time. And for Chris and his playoff run, he's had to deal with injuries.
Yeah, and so really quick here, Nick, we talked about this for, a couple of months here. And what I've been saying is, the reason why they had a chance and why they are the favorites is because of AD. AD, he's been missing all year. He had one big game. He had a good quarter. And then you had LeBron James. He's still not 100%. So, Nick, that's why, I'm pushing back on Antoine because of what the Lakers situation is and what it was as far as AD and LeBron James.
Yeah, I'm just surprised that since AD has had one good quarter in the playoffs, it is what you're telling me, and LeBron's still hurt, why you're not sticking with the Suns.
Oh my goodness.
I mean, Chris Paul's not 100%, but LeBron's not 100%. You've told me all year they're the better team. You told me before the series that we're going to win. You told me after game one, the game Chris Paul got hurt, that the Suns were clearly going to win the series and clearly the better team. So I'm just surprised why you're changing. I'm just surprised why you've decided that this
because
is a pick you don't want to stick with, Brandon.
Wild.
No, but he's still going to play.
Went down.
And Anthony Davis had. Listen, if you'd have said it's because Anthony Davis got it back going, then I'd be like, oh, okay. But you don't think he got it back going. You keep saying he had one good quarter. I'm not sure even which quarter you're referring to. I thought he was pretty good throughout the game, but it's fine. I just think you should consider sticking with the Suns because the Lakers are such a flawed, bad team. Here's what I think about this series. This was going to be the Lakers' toughest series, Wilds, until the finals. And now it's over. And now you look at tonight's game and look, they don't play again until Sunday, so it'll be on 2 days rest. And then LeBron will be able to smell extra rest coming. And this first round is likely going to go a lot like last year's first round, granted for different reasons, where it's like, oh, Lose game 1. Lakers are in trouble. Don't look the same. This, that, and the third. And then it's like, oh, then they win the next 4. And so the Lakers, it took them all year with Anthony Davis and LeBron's injuries to earn the 7 seed. And it took them 1/2 to essentially become the 2 seed. Because the Lakers now have the path to the finals of the 2 seed, and they have home court advantage for the rest of this series. So, yeah, I mean, I think the Lakers were going to win anyway, but I think it was going to be a tough series because I think the Suns are the second best team in the conference. But now I'm not sure the Suns win another game in this series.
Yeah, wow. I think you're right, unfortunately. Antoine, I'm going to try to put an optimistic face on this series for Suns fans. I liked your take that Chris Paul should have sat out all of game 2, try to get as close to 100% rather than sort of try to gut out a win at home. Would you keep him out for the next 2 games and try to get him to 100%? Or do you want this sort of like a kind of like hobbled Chris Paul, a version of Chris Paul? Or do you rest him to like, maybe we try to like stage a 3-1 comeback, but our only chance to win this series is if you're healthy. So we have to prioritize health and sit you out even if we fall in a big deficit.
Well, players are going to be stubborn. Chris Paul probably was very stubborn as far as he wanted to be on the floor. So you respect that and you want to get a player's his wish. But Monty Williams has to step in and really try to fill out the series. If your team is as good as they were all season long, Cameron Payne is a good backup who's had a very, very good year. You take your chances. You sit him game 2, possibly game 3. Nick just explained the schedule. So you had a nice break in there where he could have came back game 3 healthy, or at least game 4. If you're down 2-1 and you got the type of team that you had all year and you're the second best team in the Western Conference, you should feel comfortable being that you can come back from 2-1. You're expecting a long series. You're expecting to go 7 games. But they have him in the playoffs a long time. Chris Paul has been unbelievable all year. It's tough to keep a guy like that. He's in his 16th, 17th year in the league. He don't want to sit out. He believes he's had a good young core around him. But you got to remember, this young core is their first time around, and you're playing against the defending champs. It's unfortunate you draw the Lakers at the 7th seed, but this is what happened. You were going to have to go through them probably to win it. You played them first, which was probably to your advantage. It just did not work out with Chris Paul being hurt. I just don't like them with Chris Paul being hurt, because they're going to need him not only to be a facilitator on the floor, they need him to score the basketball. They need him to be aggressive offensively. Right. That's one thing. Chris has been tremendous in the 4th quarter. If he cannot shoot the basketball and do the things he does offensively, then they're going to struggle to win this series. It's going to be virtually impossible because the Lakers have so many dominant factors. When you think about the inside presence, and they don't have enough bodies to throw at LeBron. LeBron is very casual. These 2 games, to me, has been very casual. No pressure on him. These young guys are trying to guard him. And then the 4th quarter, you saw he scores when he wants to. So it's unfortunate, but this series is over with. I know, Brandon, you want the series to be long and believe in the Suns. It's not going to happen.
All right, once again, Chris Paul listed as probable for tonight's game. But look at the crowd outside the Garden last night. Knicks fans are jacked up, and they should be. First playoff win in 8 years. What does all the Knicks hoopla say about KD and the Nets? We discuss that next. First things first. Hey, on Sunday, the Cup Series returns to Charlotte for the Coca-Cola 600. That's at 6 Eastern, only on Fox and the Fox Sports app. Time now for a little weird and wonderful from Kevin Wildes. How about Jose Altuve taking Trevor Bauer deep in the first inning yesterday? Boom. Astros went on to win 5-2. Pretty wonderful. Kevin Wildes, what else you got from the world of baseball?
Oh, we are going down to the college ranks. Dallas Baptist, Cole Moore. Look at this catch that he makes. Jumps over the fence and grabs the foul ball. Here's the thing. He didn't grab it. He missed it. But shout out to Cole Moore, because you know how great of an effort it is to have to make a nationally televised show when you play for Dallas Baptist University and you don't even catch a foul ball. So fantastic job. A+ effort. Wonderful job. I meant A++.
What is he doing?
That doesn't make any sense.
Can't do that.
And finally, the wonderful. I made a mistake earlier, and I said that the Ole Miss Rebels invented this, and everyone should start doing it. I'm incorrect. I have a number of people telling me Alabama football did this, as well as Coach Hill said his team did it. So shout out to Coach Hill. Thanks for watching and give us the correction. Either way, From now on, if you do a normal high five, you are officially out of fashion. All high fives need to be based on dunks. Nicholas, I will be doing the J.R. Ryder dunk next time I see you. So please start working on that in your living room.
Like
this
YOLO.
is the J.R. Ryder. That is the J.R. That's the East Bay Funk right there.
Time to run the no
I'm
huddle.
excited for it.
Hey, the Aaron Rodgers saga in Green Bay continues to drag on. Recently retired quarterback Alex Smith joined Colin yesterday on The Herd to give his take on the Packers situation. Take a listen to this.
It's inexcusable. It's absolutely, I think.
What do you mean?
How they ever got to this point. I mean, Aaron's been there 16 years, what he's given to that organization and been there. And for them, I think, to what happened last year during the draft, and I haven't talked to Aaron about this, so I don't want to put words in his mouth, but clearly to watch the interview and him talk about it's about the people. And it is, and Aaron's been there that long, and I don't think it was the fact that they drafted Jordan Love in the first round. I mean, I think it's the fact that you just, how do you have a guy like Aaron and you don't go make sure beforehand, you aren't going out of your way to make sure that he knows that he's loved, that they want him there.
Did Kansas City give you a heads up on Mahomes?
Yes, without a doubt. With 100%. I mean, that's something that was talked about throughout the draft process, not just by Coach Reed, everybody involved in the personnel department. Yeah, and I'm talking multiple times. Hey, this really might be something we're doing. Are you okay with it? This is going to be the situation. This is, there were no surprises.
So, Brendan, let me ask you a question. Do you think the Packers would have been in this situation had they told Rodgers they were drafting Aaron Love? Would we be here right now?
No, we would not. I mean, you heard Alex Smith talk about it. And hell, I was with Jay Cutler when we were interviewing Bruce Arians in Chicago and Todd Bowles, Coach Mark Trustman. He was in those meetings. He was the reason why I got to Chicago. He went up there and said, I need an X receiver. I said, okay, well, let's look in the draft. They said, no, I need this X receiver, Brandon Marshall, who's playing down in Miami. So the quarterback, they're just different. I always say, they're in between management and the locker room. They got to figure out how to lead up and also lead down. So they would not be in this situation. But let's keep it real here. They didn't believe that Aaron Rodgers was going to be their quarterback. They made that move thinking that, we're going to move on from Aaron Rodgers. So that's why we're in this situation, because Aaron Rodgers, every time he speaks, he keeps saying, they thought I was done, then I had an MVP year, and that threw a monkey wrench into this whole deal. So right. So if they had that conversation with him, then Aaron Rodgers would have had a bunch of questions and they wouldn't have had any answers for him, because then it would have blew up in their face. Because they're like, well, Aaron, we're going to move on from you. That's what we're planning on doing. So that's why they tried to go behind his back to make this move, Nick, and it still blew up in their face.
Brandon nailed it. Listen, I don't think by telling Aaron it would have smoothed over everything with the relationship, because there was clearly some baggage beforehand, but it wouldn't have been an outward, obvious act of disrespect. You've got Alex Smith saying the Chiefs told me they were drafting Mahomes. Hell, you have the Vikings and making it clear we told Kirk Cousins we were drafting, was it Kellen Mond, who ended up in Minnesota? I think it was Kellen Mond, Brandon's guy. Yeah. And by the way, sidebar, I think the Vikings made that public intentionally to stick it to the Packers a bit. Hey, we even let Kirk Cousins know. Green Bay, divisional rival. I don't know how you run business, but we're letting Kirk bleeping Cousins know about Kellen Mond in the second round. You can't let Aaron Rodgers know about Jordan Love in the first round. I think that's a little interdivisional subterfuge.
Moved up to get him.
Brandon keyed on the most important part of the Kenny Mayne interview. Everyone we focused on, and I didn't realize it till after the show when we talked about it. We focused on that. He kept saying the people, and he didn't mention Gutekunst management, but he had a very fascinating quote when he said, I threw a monkey wrench in their plans by winning MVP. Think about what that quote is saying. It is saying he believes that him playing the best football of his life was the opposite of what his team wanted. If he truly believes him winning the MVP caused a problem, then that means you must follow it to the furthest logical conclusion. Why is it a problem? That would mean they were expecting, if not hoping, what's the opposite of an MVP season? A terrible season. So you go to work every day saying, my bosses not only don't believe in me, but they have bet against me. For their plan to work, I must fail. That's not a tenable situation, Brandon. Like that is, and that's what Aaron made it clear, was that he screwed things up by playing so well. And so would it have solved things if they'd given him a heads up? No, but it would have made things a lot better. There's no doubt about it.
And now let's go to the other part of the conversation that everybody's leaning into, talking about the people. See, this is the dark side of sports. You have Aaron Rodgers, who's been there for 16 years. He brought a Lombardi trophy back there, right? So when you think about it, yes, if I'm falling off and I've done so much for this community, I've done so much for this team, for the people in this building, people's done so much for me. We have these real relationships. If you believe that, just be honest with me. Now, look, I may not like it, but the greatest coaches, Bill Parcells, Sean Payton, Pete Carroll, all the greatest coaches, Tony Sparano, Lovie Smith, the coaches that I've been around and just you can listen to. Bill Belichick never played for him, but he talks about it all the time. Players want you to be brutally honest. Don't play around with players. So you could have went to Aaron Rodgers and said, look, Aaron, this is the move we're making because we feel this way. Aaron may have asked for a trade. He may have said something that they didn't like, but that's what you need to do, because that's the part that is getting lost there, is that Aaron is saying you guys could have came to me and had that discussion of telling me the God's honest truth, what you felt deep in your heart, Wilds, and that's why this situation can't be fixed and they need to move on from him as fast as possible, because that was a trickle down effect where now you're seeing wide receivers not even show up to OTAs.
Okay, so Brandon, let's play it out. You and I will never have a fight or a disagreement, but we'll go into fantasy world right here. If I stop showing up to the morning meetings, let's stop. And like, oh, Wild's not showing up to the meetings anymore, and it's an issue with Brandon. Like, wow, what happened? Well, remember 14 months ago, Brandon disrespected him. Wouldn't the first response be like, well, 14 months ago, and now Wilds is upset? Like, he did a whole year, and he was great on the show. He had an MVP season on the show. And now it's coming to a head? Like, tell Wilds to, hey, what do you want us to do? It was 14 months ago. The idea that it's like an untenable situation or it would hurt the performance has literally been proven wrong, because he won the MVP and they're a penalty away from going to the Super Bowl. So for me, the weird thing that's not being discussed, we're acting like that this was this draft. It was 14 months ago. We've gone through an entire year. So I'm surprised that, go ahead, Doug, you take the ball.
Right. So, all right, what happened after those 14 months? The wide receiver that he liked, what was his name? We talked about him on the show. He had his 15 minutes of fame. Kumaro, his buddy. He wanted Kumaro. And then what you got to understand, I always say this. This is a $16 billion industry. Got hit last year because of COVID, took it down to $12 billion, and you have multi-million-dollar athletes. A lot of egos involved. So there's a lot of conversations. Yes, Aaron Rodgers probably sat down with Brian Gutekunst. And when you sit down face-to-face, now you got this machismo popping up. So there's probably so many conversations that they've had since then, or walking by each other in the hallway or sitting down next to each other in the cafeteria, the same line, and you can feel that. So it's not just like they drafted Jordan Love and then they just moved on. There's so many things that happen after that. And then you also have contract negotiations. And then how does Brian Gutekunst present himself at the table?
And in those 14 months, Rodgers proved him wrong. Like Wilds. I think the better version of your analogy is this. You haven't been showing up to the meeting. It's made Brandon mad. And so Brandon has gone to management and said, we need to replace you. And you've said, okay, let's get through the next 9 months. I'm still not going to show up to the meeting. And I bet we have the highest ratings we've ever had. 9 months are over. Ratings are in. Best we've ever had. And now you go and say, I was right. he was wrong. Not only are you not replacing me, I want you to do something with him. That's what happened. Rodgers said, okay, challenge accepted, Gutekunst. We'll see who ends up right after this upcoming season. The season ended. He was great. He won the MVP. They got back to the NFC Championship game. And so he wanted some type of retribution, whether that's trading Jordan Love, firing Gutekunst, giving him a fat new contract, something. They did none of the above, so now he's under a waterfall in Hawaii, saying, okay, I'll talk to you when I talk to you, buddy, but I'm chilling.
Think about this. Look, we're seeing it. We're seeing this play out. We're seeing this play out in San Francisco, out in the Bay. You got the 49ers. They told Jimmy G how they felt about him. They said, you get hurt too much.
That's true.
You're not. They basically said you're not good enough. That's basically what they said to Jimmy G. They said it to him privately. They said it to us publicly. And then they also said we're in the market for a quarterback. Jimmy G had a decision to make. Am I going to ask for a trade? Am I going to show up? Jimmy G just came out and finally spoke. For the second time, because he did a podcast a couple weeks ago, but he didn't go deep into any type of details in the conversation that he had. But what did Jimmy G say? I considered a trade, but then I said, I'm just going to go out there and ball. So now we're going to see this play out for the next 9 months. What is Jimmy G going to do? And then after that, if he does ball out, what are the 49ers going to do? Because you just moved up in the draft and took your boy in the third, with the third pick.
Trey Lance. Yeah, and the other factor, this is the simple version of this. I'm sorry, Jenna, I'll just be very quick here. The simple version is the Packers tried to ask for forgiveness instead of permission. And I know you don't need permission from Aaron Rodgers, but that's an old adage in business or in life. Like, should you ask for permission to do something, or should you do it, not get the no ahead of time, and then just ask for forgiveness? They went that route. Sometimes that literally in business gets you fired. Sometimes it's like, oh, okay, you get away with it. And sometimes it's like, well, you really should have asked for permission, because you would have gotten a hard no, and there's no walking it back. They asked for forgiveness instead of asking for permission, Jenna, and Rodgers not letting him off the hook here.
And here we are. Exactly. Right. And now I'm stressed out that Wilds is going to show up for meetings for the foresearable future. Please do it.
Oh, yeah.
We're going to take a turn. Knicks got some NBA medals to hand out. I really did. Everyone used the example, Wilds isn't showing up. I'm like, you're not going to be here tomorrow? Ben Simmons did it all last night. 22 points, 9 rebounds, 8 assists. Sixers got the win, but Simmons just missing out on a medal. Nick, which three guys did it better last night?
Very heady play by Wilds to cut off that controversy at the pass, since he's decided during NBA playoffs he's not going to show up for the morning meetings. Now Brandon can't be mad at him about it. Bronze medal, Derrick Rose. Hey, D. Rose. He could have been 6th man of the year. Starts second half, 26-4-4. Keeps the Knicks afloat in this series and in this game. Bronze medal. Silver medal. Everyone's going to focus on Donovan coming back or Rudy Gobert's great block. The best player for the Jazz last night was Mike Conley. 24 and 15 assists in an absolute must-win. A game where a 20-point third-quarter lead got whittled down to 2 at one point, and then the Jazz took back control. And then the gold medal, Ja. 47, 4, and 7, granted in a losing effort. Ja now has a career playoff high that is higher than Steph, Giannis, Luka, Embiid, Harden, Kyrie, Kawhi, or Nikola Jokic. Ja Morant in his second career playoff game goes for 47 and 7. There, Brandon, are the medals from last night in the NBA playoffs.
Yeah, something's missing. Where's my Nets? I know they didn't play last night, but they had a great recovery day. I heard they had 100% recovery. Listen, 100% participation. Massage therapists. They were in the hot tubs, the cold tubs. Can we throw the Nets up there, please, for having an amazing recovery day?
No, missed the cut. You know who missed the cut? Brandon's Nets day.
Well, besides the Nets, who just missed the cut?
Dylan Brooks here. What's going on here? Never seen this before in an NBA game. Joe Ingles draws the foul with Dylan Brooks' backside. So there you go, everybody. Good morning. Joe Ingles went into that. So, hey, I guess you get 3 shots. So take it. I guess it's worth it.
That's an offensive foul on Ingles. Ingalls headbutted him in the butt.
No, it is
It's a headbutt in the butt. That's what it was. Okay. Yeah, it is. Look it up.
We're back talking tonight's big game 3. Will the Phoenix Suns win if CP3 is able to sit up with that injured shoulder? Suns, Lakers preview next. First things first. Back here, first things first. Look at that. The NFL's all-time leading scorer, Adam Vinatieri, has decided to call it a career after 24 seasons and 4 Super Bowls. Just an amazing career. Check out this moment when Brandon and Adam cross paths on the field.
What's up, man? How you doing?
Good to see you,
How's
brother.
everything?
Good.
Hey, let me get that jersey after the game.
We can't trade them out during the game, but I'll send you one, man.
You'll send me one?
You send me one of yours.
Hey, when's the last time somebody asked for a kicker's jersey? All right, boy.
That's awesome, Brandon. Awesome. But of course, protocol, he couldn't give it to you. But he did. Did he send it?
Awesome.
Oh, he did.
He sent it.
Oh, that's awesome.
He sent it.
That's so great.
Yes.
I love that.
Listen.
That's really cool.
I have the best collection when you look at football collections, the jerseys. And for years, I was collecting some of the best guys, Hall of Famers. You know, guys like Edelman. I got Edelman's jersey when he was just in his second year because I believed in him and I really appreciated his approach to the game. And then after so many years have gone by, I looked at my wall and I said, I have no kicker jersey on my wall. Who's the greatest kicker of all time? And then I said, I got an opportunity to play him. I need to get his jersey. So that's why I had to get it. Congratulations to one of the greatest to ever do it in all of football, not just kickers, all of football.
It's a great career. Quick question, Brandon. Was that from the jersey from the actual game, or does he just have a lot of jerseys at his house? And if the latter is the case, is it okay to ask for a Patriots jersey instead of a Colts jersey? And by the way, I don't want a Colts jersey. Can you give me a Patriots jersey? Is that sort of frowned upon in the jersey exchange world?
I don't know because I'm not sure because kickers don't get dirty. This jersey seems clean, so it could have been one that was hanging in his locker. I'm not sure. Who knows? But I got one.
Gotcha.
Brandon, do you have any Eli Manning game-worn ones? Because if not, I've got a guy that I can get you a bunch.
Be kidding me. That's a story from 8 years ago.
What? You remember that story?
Nobody even remembers that. Nobody remembers that.
I got a guy.
All right, let's move on to stories to start your morning, sponsored by Ram Trucks, built to serve. Back to basketball. So ahead of tonight's big game 3 at Staples Center, Phoenix officially listing Chris Paul on the injury report with that shoulder is listed as probable, but we saw what a hobbled CP3 might mean for the series in game 2. So Nick, Lakers Suns, how much will CP3's health determine the series?
Well, listen, they were going to lose, but it was going to be a great series. This is the second best team in the West. Now I think they've got no shot. And I think the end of game 2 was instructive because the Lakers went to their trump card. They went to their big joker, which they had not done all series. They're like, all right, well, I guess you're going to make us play our obviously best lineup. Fine. We'll put Anthony Davis at the center. And they went on a 9-0 run and won the game. The counter to that chess move is having one of the smartest players in league history out there diagnosing it. And so the issue for the Suns is not just you're not going to have Chris Paul's offense. Brandon, the issue for the Suns is you're not going to have Chris Paul's brain setting up the rest of the offense for everyone else. And so that's why I think they thought even if he can't shoot, he can still help us just by being out there. But it's not that he just couldn't shoot. He couldn't really even pass the way he wants to because that shoulder's in such bad shape. So now, maybe I'm wrong. I assume, Brandon, now you have it, that it'll take the Suns 6 or 7 games to beat these terrible Lakers who, AD's been bad all year and LeBron's hurt and the Suns are clearly a better team. So I don't know where you're out on this, but I know that you're high on the Suns, but I think it sucks for Chris.
Right.
It's brutal, and I think it ends the Suns' chances of making this competitive.
Yeah, way too much to overcome. Going into this series, obviously picked the Suns because they were the better team when you look at how the Lakers stumbled across the finish line to end the season. AD, he still didn't show up and present himself in a way that was like, yeah, I can believe in the Lakers. This dude has been down all year. We haven't seen the AD from the bubble. LeBron James, his ankle. When he came back, he still was rolling around on the ground at times, after landing on it or twisting it. So you didn't know what you were going to get out of him. Game 1, they showed up and they played phenomenal, even after CP3 went down with the shoulder. But without CP3 at 100%, they don't have a chance, especially with LeBron James. He's still not 100%, but you saw how he impacted the game in so many different ways, not really attacking, but standing out there on the perimeter, and picked up where he left off right before he got hurt when we were talking about, man, damn, this dude is shooting a basketball like he's Ray Allen. So he's doing a phenomenal job there. Right. But CP3, he needs to be on that court if the Suns want to win. Is there anyone, Wiles, that have worse luck than CP3 when it comes to the playoffs? 2016, he goes down when he's playing for the Clippers. He messes up his wrist. And then 2018, playing for the Rockets, going against the Warriors in the Western Conference Finals, and he pulls his hamstring. They were up 3-2. And then the Warriors go and they win Game 6, win Game 7. And then now this year they got this weekend and beat up Lakers team, and now he beats up his shoulder. He messes up his shoulder. No one has worse luck in the playoffs than CP3.
So I think the shoulder must be pretty bad if in crunch time they had a chance to win Game 2 and CP3 sat. And I know Monty Williams said, I saw him and it wasn't going to work. But if Chris Paul really wanted to get in that game, I think his relationship with Monty Williams would have allowed him to get in the game. So I don't think he could go. So the question is this: does Chris Paul try to play in a version of himself and try to make this a series? Or, and Antoine mentioned this earlier, do you punt on these 2 games in LA? Try to get back to Phoenix in Game 5 with a healthy Chris Paul, or at least a healthier Chris Paul, and then try to win 3 in a row. Nick, I know it's a tall task, but that's got to be the only path forward. If I challenge you with this, and I know it's against your sort of like analytical brain, but I'm going to try to make it like a debate club. If I challenge you like, hey, come up with a way that the Suns can win this series, that seems like the only way.
No. The way you need to go back, you need to have him miss Games 2 and 3. He can't, you go down 3-1, it's over. There is a precisely 0% chance that LeBron James would ever lose 3 consecutive elimination games, including Game 7. It's an impossibility, okay? So the idea would have been sit him after Game 1 was Sunday. If he would have sat Games 2 and 3, he then wouldn't have played until the following Sunday, and worst case scenario, you're down 2-1. But that's not. I don't think you can rest him Games 3 and 4. You could, in theory, rest him tonight, and then you've got 2 days until Game 4. But this is anyone that's ever. I obviously don't talk about my athletic career because there wasn't one. But this is the exact injury that I suffered a bunch of times. You can't raise your arm fully past your head. And so it's just an impossible injury to play basketball with because the joint gets so loosened and you don't have the mobility. So I don't know
don't downplay your career,
version
man.
they think they're going to get of him. Okay, I was retired due to injury in high school. That's what happened, Jenna. My shoulder injury kicked me out of it, Jenna. That's what happened.
We're almost done. I want to quickly get your picks before we leave you today. Bucks Heat Game 3, Milwaukee up 2-0. Brandon, who you got tonight?
Bucks are looking good. I'm gonna go with the Bucks. Oh, they're looking good.
The Bucks, okay.
He's a little
We're moving along. Nuggets Blazers. That series all tied at 1. Kevin Wildes, who wins Game 3 tonight?
Okay, so Dame had 42 points, 32 in the first half, only 10 in the second half because at halftime, Aaron Gordon's like, I got him. I think Aaron Gordon locks him down as much as he can. Denver wins.
Oh, okay. And Nick, I saved the last one for you. Suns, Lakers, that series tied. What happens tonight? Who wins?
Oh, Jenna, I don't like to make picks.
You know what?
I think I'm going to go with the Lakers.
Yeah, CP3.
I think. Don't hold me to it.
CP3 is over, man.